Hey there, it's Steve from Serious Keto, and this is the Not So Serious Keto video podcast. I want to start this podcast with an apology. Last week in the podcast, as I was talking about labeling and personal responsibility and where one ends and the other begins, I used the example of the McDonald's hot coffee drive-through spill thing. And the version of the story that I was familiar with is really the not urban legend. I would say the abridged version, or the version that McDonald's put out. This is the version of the story I was aware of and thus used it as an example. Now, I had a number of viewers politely correct me, and I mean that's not sarcasm, politely correct me on this and give me more details about what actually happened and why McDonald's was the bad guy in this, which I don't doubt that very often McDonald's is the bad guy. But I also got some comments. Well, first, let me tell you, I appreciate the ones that were very polite and helped educate me or draw me out of ignorance, which incidentally, this is an aside, but it's something I remember from Latin class back in high school. To educate, you've got the Latin root e, meaning out of, and duco, meaning to lead. So you're leading someone out of the darkness, out of ignorance. That's what you're doing when you educate them. Anyhow, total aside, showing off my Latin, which is pretty much the extent of my Latin. But, so anyhow, thank you to those people. There were a number of comments, though, that were not really very nice, calling me anything from a heartless bastard to telling me that they're unsubscribing. So I do apologize, although if you unsubscribed, you're not going to see this, I guess. One thing I would say, though, is if you ever interpret something that I say, whether it is in the podcast or a cooking video or a review or in a comment, and you think that there's some sort of mean-spiritedness or malice behind it, I can assure you there is not. That is not something that's in me anymore. It used to be. I mean, pretty much my first 50 years, there was a lot of that. But I think I've kind of purged that out of my system. So if you ever feel that I'm being mean or cruel or acting with ill intent, I would say just take a break, take a breather, come back. Maybe you just misinterpreted, because that's not me. Anyhow, for the third time, just to make sure everybody gets it, I do apologize for using that as an example. Perhaps a better example would have been the ladder that I just purchased. It's an extension ladder, no less than 18 warning stickers on it. There may be more. I couldn't, there may be some hidden. 18 warning stickers. There is literally, outside of the rungs, so on the sides of the ladder, there is more space covered up by stickers than there is blank space. So that's, I think at some point also we get to a point where we're just numb to all the warnings, that there are so many out there that it just becomes wallpaper and we cease to see it. So at some point there's that balance, like I said, between labeling and personal responsibility. Another topic I covered last week was that I had gotten out onto SeriousKeto.com and was really kind of distressed at the amount of ads that were showing up. I've always tried to keep Serious Keto a very clean site. So minimum ads, minimum pop-ups, put something up in the banner, maybe in the footer. I just cannot stand when I go to a website, especially a recipe website, and it's just ad after ad after ad. And it feels like they're inserting all this extra text and story behind the recipe just so they can put in more ads. I don't want that. I want it nice and clean, especially on the recipes, especially when you go to print them out. And like I said, I went out and all I was seeing was just ads like crazy on my site. So I believe that I have fixed that. I've turned off a lot of them. Google AdSense, I had set it to auto manage. I turned off pretty much all of that. So you should see fewer ads. I also selected that the ads should have more relevance. So depending on if you're using cookies and things like that, it's tracked some of your history, you should get ads that are more relevant, that pertain to your interests. That's what I'm hoping. And one final thing about the website, if you ever see it down, don't bother emailing me or messaging me right away, because usually if it's down because I'm working on it and I know it's down. I'm either doing an update on some of the plugins or maybe changing some of the pages. Oh, I guess there's a third thing related to the website. One of the things that I used to have was a little box that said partners and products, and you could click on it and see some of the discounts that I get from different companies I partner with. It has been a long time since I've updated that. In fact, I'd kind of forgotten about it until one of my viewers told me she had gone in and used the Perfect Keto link and it didn't work. So I have temporarily removed that entire page. What I need to do someday when I'm in a mood to really get into some HTML, I will fix that page, I will make it current, and then what I'll probably do is link to that particular page in the description of all my videos. So that way I've got one place to update instead of, each individual update or each individual video that I do. So if I did a video on Keto Chow and Keto Chow changed their URL or something like that for marketing partners, I wouldn't have to go back to every single Keto Chow and update it. I would just update the products and partners page on my website, and then the link on the video stays the same. Anyhow, I hope that made sense. But what I'm saying is I think I've got the website all squared away, so big thumbs up there. The next topic I want to cover is keto and AI. I think I mentioned this last week, possibly the week before, that I'd started to see recipes show up in my Google News feed that were clearly AI generated. You could tell that the thumbnail was generated, but then as you also look at the ingredients, you're like, oh, okay, this looks like it was made by somebody that doesn't really know anything about keto and was just slapping together a bunch of ingredients. Well, now I'm starting to see it on YouTube. There was one channel, and this channel, what they did is they used in the mentions at Serious Keto, at Two Crazy Ketos, pretty much every keto channel, so that we as content creators would say, oh, look, somebody mentioned us, and we'll check it out. This particular video was AI just front to back. It was, my guess is somebody went into one of the AI things, ChatGPT, whatever it is, and said, make me a video on top 10 beginner tips for keto. And all of the images and all the footage in it were stock footage. You could tell because it still had like the watermark from each of the companies that this person or this AI downloaded. The voiceover, you could also tell, was AI. It was not a human speaking. You can tell. And that concerns me. I mean, already I think the keto video market here on YouTube is fairly saturated. And that's okay. I mean, I'm not trying to discourage anyone from starting up their own channel, their own keto channel. If you want to do that, if you're having fun doing that, by all means, go ahead and do it. I'll just warn you, you're not going to make much money at it until you get really, really big. But to have AI create these videos and have people using that to publish videos, I think it dilutes the information stream too much. And I think people will get in and they'll see these videos and maybe be turned off of keto because of it. They're a beginner. They want to know what's going on. They get out there and they see this AI video that's not especially helpful, really kind of generic. And I don't know. It doesn't sit well with me. I'd be curious to know what you think. Have you seen any of these AI keto videos that there's no human that shows up anywhere in the video? There's no human voice, none of that. If you've seen any of those, I'd like to know, or even if you haven't, now that I've just described it to you, what are your thoughts? Do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing? Let me know down in the comments below. Now, this is going to be a shorter podcast. I mean, it's Thanksgiving week, so I'm sure a lot of people have got some planning going on, getting ready for Thanksgiving. I do have a Thanksgiving playlist. So this is a recipe or a list of recipes that I've created or modified from somebody else. I will include that down in the description below as well as in the end card. So when I have the two videos up on the side, I shrink down, was it from your perspective, maybe over here, and then got the videos up there. Look for that. I'll put it in both places. If you're looking for some ideas how to keto-fy Thanksgiving, hopefully that will help you. In terms of, because I know I'm going to get the question, in terms of what I'm doing for Thanksgiving, I'm in charge usually of the proteins. That's sort of where I draw the line on Thanksgiving. Otherwise, I get sucked into this rabbit hole and I'm just making food all day long. Through Wednesday into Thursday, I don't get to do any of the fun stuff with the family. I don't get to sit down and watch football because I'm making everything. So a couple of years ago, I kind of announced we're going to have a division of labor here for Thanksgiving, and I'm in charge of the protein. So we ordered a prime rib roast, which I'm probably going to cook sous vide for 30 to 36 hours. If you have ever done a roast sous vide at that length of time at medium rare or rare for 30 to 36 hours, it is melt in your mouth tender. And then I'll probably sear it with the blowtorch thingy I've got. The, what's that called? I think it's actually called the sous vide torch. I think I did a review. Yeah, I did have a review of that. I will include that in the end card as well. So look for that. So we got the prime rib roast, some smoked Cornish hens. We got 4 Cornish hens that I'll be smoking. I'm thinking probably hickory is probably what I'm going to use for the smoke. And then what we do is we save up over the course of the year and we put them into the freezer any sort of crab or lobster shells that we have, which generally we have crab about once a year and we have lobster maybe once or twice a year. But I save the shells and use those to make lobster bisque. So I'll make the lobster bisque, probably need to go out and get half a dozen little baby lobster tails so I can chop that up and have a little lobster meat in there. So those are the 3 that I'm in charge of. And I'll probably start working on the bisque on Wednesday, at least doing the pressure cooking and steaming of the crustacean shells so that I can get the broth, at least sort of a seafood broth as a base for my lobster bisque. And this time maybe I'll pay attention to what I do and write it down. That way that can be a future recipe video, assuming it comes out keto enough. And I think it probably will. But that is going to be it for this podcast. I had another topic here, but it looks like it would be sort of a longer topic, and I just don't want to stretch out this podcast that much. Plus, I don't know what's going to be on the podcast next week, so it'd be just as easy to push that one off to next week. Anyhow, like I said, I will put those 2 videos, promised videos, or playlist and video right over here. So Thanksgiving up here, the sous vide blowtorch thingy down here. My understanding is with that blowtorch thing, you can go out and get a weed torch for a fraction of that price. Looks pretty much the same, does the same thing. But if you're looking to get a crust on a steak or something really, really fast, or looking to brown something, kind of a cool tool. Anyhow, thanks for watching. Have a great Thanksgiving. Have a great Black Friday. Thanks for watching.